Hi, it's Lana from the Breathing Space. Welcome back to this breath centered foundation series. In this short video, I will be sharing how you can find a comfortable seated position, not a small detail. It's a really big detail that can make a huge difference in how you feel, whether you're sitting down to do a meditation practice, whether you're sitting to do some breathing exercises, or whether you're starting a yoga class in a seated posture, like we often do here at the Breathing Space. Especially in my classes, we usually start doing some breathing exercises and we sit for quite a while. So for beginners and even for those who have been practicing yoga for a while, maybe they're new to the studio, finding a seated posture that works for you can be quite a challenge. So we're going to go over a couple of options that you have. So you want your legs to be as relaxed as possible, and you also want your spine to be as long as possible. Okay, so those are the two main things. Legs heavy, relaxed, spine long. Okay, in the beginning, this is going to take you quite a lot of effort, and that's okay. You'll get used to it. You need to train your muscles and your postural system how to keep you supported. But let's make it a little bit easier for you. Okay, so the first thing, let's say you have open hips. I do, and I don't sit flat on the ground generally to meditate, even though it's comfortable for me. I make it even more comfortable. So I sit onto a block. So determine how high you sit by where your knees are relative to the ground. My knees are on the ground, right? And I can sit comfortably. I'm not holding muscles to keep me in this position. So you check in. Take one block, put it underneath your sit bones, and see if you're even more comfortable. Now I can really rest my pelvis, the weight of my pelvis and my legs, and I can relax my belly, and I'm comfortable. And you can see my knees are on the ground. Okay. If that's not enough, grab a second block. Put it under your butt. Are your knees on the ground? Are your hips relaxed? Can you sit really supported in your sit bones? You can see that my legs are folded in a certain position. So let's go over how to fold your legs. So it might be that you pick one block, or even maybe 2 blocks is too much. So you could even have a block like this could be the perfect height. Or books if you don't have yoga blocks at home. So just find the height that works. And I would say, even if your knee is not on the floor, I'm going to show you how to adjust that in a moment. Okay, so you sit down on a block, and what do you do with your legs? Okay, so sit on a height that you can sit up relatively straight, and then just relax your leg out to the side. See if you can invite your heel to move in a little bit closer to you. Okay? And then you let your other leg relax out to the side, and then see if you can draw your heel in a bit closer to you. The closer you can get your legs in towards you, the more you'll be able to sit towards the fronts of your sit bones. But that's not possible for everybody. Maybe your knee is limited in the amount of flexion that it can make. Okay, so let's say that's an issue. And you might find that you get to this position here and that your knee is really high off the ground. Okay, if your knee is not on the floor, but it's below your hip, then you're probably fine. However, if you're sitting this way for a while, your hip flexors might have to work for a really long time. So grab another block or a book, or whatever you have handy, a pillow, a rolled up bunch of clothes, and place it underneath your knee so that it's supported. This support can help you just to relax your leg. Yeah? So whether it's under one knee or both knees, that can help you relax. I would say if you've got 2 blocks under both knees, you also just need to sit higher up. Okay, so then put 2 blocks under your butt. Okay. You can also just cross your legs so that your feet support your legs underneath them. Right? This is comfortable for a lot of people. So instead of having my feet close into my body like this, they're just a little bit more forward, and I'm more crossed at my shins. And then I can use my feet as support for my legs. Another thing to pay attention to is the length of your spine. So ideally, you sit up really straight. All right, if you have spent a lot of your life like this, like behind a computer, or just less aware of your posture, we don't always learn to stand up and sit up straight, then it will probably make your back quite tired. You might get some soreness in between your shoulder blades, or soreness, like tired muscles in your back, and that's really normal. Keep practicing sitting, and it will get easier. Okay, so you want to pay attention to be able to sit long. You could imagine that you have a stack of books on your head. Let's pretend that I don't have a bun in my hair. That you're trying to push up towards the ceiling and dropping the weight of your pelvis down. So I want to sit up as straight as possible and have the natural curves in my back. So I'm not overly arching my back, yeah, but I'm also not rounding my back. So if you take your hands at the back of your body, you should feel those knobbly bits sticking out. You want the ones in your lower back to kind of disappear into the depth of your back a little bit. So just a natural curve in your lower back. Okay, so again, how high you sit will help you find that natural curve. Another position that you can sit in is a kneeling position. So I'll show that from the side. And a couple of things can restrict you in this position: the flexibility of your ankles, the flexibility of your knees, and the flexibility of your hips. Again, I want to find the natural curve in my back, so there's a little bit of, I'm at the fronts of my sit bones, and now I'm just sitting on my feet. My feet are nice and relaxed, but I can also sit onto a block. This is one of my favorite positions to sit in for meditation. You can grab a block, and it can be any height. Right? So it can be its lowest height. You could have 2 blocks. You can turn 1 block up to be a little bit higher. You could have a bolster just for some padding on your butt. Be nice. With a block underneath it. And sit like that. That's really comfortable. Yeah. Okay, so if you're sitting, just make sure, again, you're not rocking backwards and you're not overarching your back, but you're right in the middle, like Goldilocks. Okay. Your knees can separate. They don't need to stay together. And then you can just rest your arms. So also for breathing exercises, it's important that your upper body is free and relaxed, so that the muscles of your rib cage, the little ones in between each of your ribs, so that they can move optimally. Right? So that is also important. Make sure this is free and this is grounded. So for those of you who have tighter ankles, there's a nice way to adapt this posture. Okay, so for the adaptation, you have a blanket or a couple towels, hand towels, like bath towels ready. Have your blanket set up and place the block that you're going to sit on the very back edge of the blanket or the stack of blankets. So you can have more than just one blanket. And then if you sit with the edge of the blanket just at the front of your ankle, then your feet, your ankles can relax a little bit more. So, right, they're not in this position, but they're just relaxed down. I know I'm sitting relatively low, so let me just show you if I'm sitting a little higher. I'm just sitting up nice and straight, no matter how many blocks you've got, and your legs should be relaxed. This might not be enough for your ankles. Let's say you've twisted your ankle a lot, or you just have tighter ankles, you don't stretch your feet in this direction so often, then there's an extra thing that you can do. Okay, so you've got your blanket or two blankets. You might just need an extra stack to stack it up. That also helps, but what you can also do is softly roll the edge of the blanket, and then you'll have the blocks that you're sitting on actually behind the roll. And when you sit down, the roll will be just underneath the bottom part of your shin, and then your legs can relax even more. So I'm really comfortable. This feels great. It's like a throne for meditating on. Another thing that I hear quite often from students when they sit is that they get quite a lot of pressure in their ankle. And then for those students, what I often do is what can help is, again, just having a support under the knee, no matter how high or low the support is, right? Even if it's just a little bit of a cushion, can actually take some of the pressure off of the ankle, especially if it's coming from the hip. But also, if you're sitting, you can have like an eye blanket or a hand towel, a smaller towel, and just tuck it underneath the end of the shin. So really it should be kind of up a little bit higher, not under the ankle directly, because that will just put pressure in your foot, but really underneath the shin here to elevate it and relax that part of the leg. Yeah, so just a little bit of support right underneath here can help relax the ankle. Let's say you're trying all of these and you've maybe just had knee surgery, your knee is swollen, and you're really limited in the amount of flexion that you have in your knee, or you've got arthritis in your knees, or some arthritis in the hips, and it's just making it difficult to sit so low. Remember, you've always got your blocks, but if that's really just not working, then I have a solution for you. A stool. You can always sit on a stool. Sit so that you can have your feet comfortable on the ground and your hands resting on your knees. I'll swing to the side, and just like when you're sitting on the floor, make sure your back can be neutral, right? So you're not dropping and you're not overly tilting. You're just right smack dab in the center so that you can sit elongated and relax your feet. So I would say knees apart, feet fully flat on the ground, hands rest on your thighs. Yeah, that's always an option. So go ahead and take a few moments now to find the setup that works for you. Remember, the main purpose of the posture is to allow you to feel stable and also to free up space in your torso so that you can breathe deep and more easily. So after you set up your posture, just check in with yourself. Do you feel stable? And does this posture allow you to breathe more effectively, more efficiently? You can use this seated posture anytime, whether it's for seated meditation practice, for seated posture before beginning yoga practice, doing some breathing exercises, eating dinner at night behind the television or whatever you do in the evening, chatting with friends, invite everybody to come over and sit on the floor. And thanks so much for being here. If you haven't checked out the other videos in this series, the Breath Centered Foundation series, check it out. It's all part of this playlist. And I'll see you again soon. Thanks.